And now we are switching back to English. Next on stage is Monika Domanska. She's the co founder of the Traffic Design Association, which is changing the aesthetics of Polish cities space by space. She's not a designer, she's a public space expert. She's a post-grad from the Public Space Research Institute and has well over 10 years of running the Traffic Design NGO experience. She's going to talk about City Fix, how to design interventions to change public spaces. So let's welcome Monica.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Unfortunately, my translation headset isn't working, so I missed out on the previous speech. So I'm very sorry about that because it seemed very interesting. Uh, okay. Yes, as I said, like my name is Monika Domanska. I represent the Traffic Design Association, and we are a bunch of city and urban enthusiasts. And we started out in 2011, just wanting to change the public spaces of the city we lived in, placing more arts there. But then, with the upcoming years, we decided that maybe we can have a bigger and broader effect, shaping the aesthetics of cities in general. And I'm not sure how it's here, but in Poland, public spaces have the sort of problem that because they belong to everyone, they sort of belong to no one. So nobody really thinks that it's a part of a space that they can change. And especially at the beginning, when we were doing things in public spaces, people would ask us, like, why are you doing this? What is it for? Somebody will demolish and destroy it soon. Like most of our works are still in place, so it doesn't work out that way. But because public spaces are for everybody, many people just don't feel as if they can have an effect on them, and they also don't take care of them. And this is our team. There's over 10 of us. And once a really smart person told me that a graphic designer plus a graphic designer doesn't equal a design studio, because we have many people from different walks of life who make the things that we do possible. We have people who are majored in cultural studies, sociology, journalism, and of course, we also have graphic designers and people after that finished the Academy of Fine Arts, like painting or photography. But it all takes like a huge team of people with different skills to work in public spaces. The last two girls in the pictures are Natalia and Olya, who fled the war in Ukraine in March, and they moved to Poland and they became a part of our team, and they also realized like projects in the public spaces, and we'll see a little bit of that soon. And we're based in Gdynia, which is at the very north of Poland by the seaside. It has a very distinct like architectural style, which I'll talk in a brief moment. But we also work in many different places. Like we've been invited to design weeks in France and Israel, in Romania, in Ukraine, and we also do quite a lot of commercial work in the Balkan region. And Gdynia is a beautifully set place by the sea. So as you'll see, many of our works include sea motifs. It's the center of the city was built mid-war, which means it has a lot of modernist architecture, which is great for designers because they see the design grid in the buildings. So it's quite easy for them to design details for the buildings. Of course, there's also the context of the shipyard, which we explored this year at the Biennale. But there's also many residential big buildings, like you can see at the top. They were built in the second half of the 20th century, and now they've been painted in what we like to call like underwear colors, which are pinks and beiges and peaches, and they have a big effect on the public space. And we also work with that problem. And these are our first works from 2011, 2012, because basically we started out applying for a grant related to the European Capital of Culture. Back in 2011, there was a couple of cities in Poland who were trying to get the title for 2016. One of them was Gdansk. So we wrote a grant application to do the street art initiative, and it failed. So we were super hyped up, and we could either just like pack our bags and decide that we'll never do this, or we decided to make like a commercial offer for commercial companies and ask for sponsorship to be able to like paint a couple walls in the city. And basically nobody replied apart from one company, and it was the local theater company. And they gave us a budget that we could use, and just the only thing we had to do was put 3 theatrical motives in our work, and that's what we did. And by the next year, because we had a nice outcome, like the city of Gdynia decided to be our sponsor, and they have been for over a decade now. And the first edition was like very local. We only had a budget for local artists. The second one was national, and the third one was international. We had people from Brazil and Argentina, Greece, England, and they were painting murals. They were mostly street artists. But in the next years, we decided to take a step back. We decided to like take a step back and focus more on graphic design and invite graphic designers, not street artists, because we had the feeling that street artists, wherever they would go, they would just place their stamp on the city. It wouldn't have a lot of local context. It wouldn't look at the architecture. It would be just something copy paste. Never mind if they're in, I don't know, Helsinki, or if they're in Rome or whatever country or city they would be, their works would be quite similar. So we wanted to do stuff that looked more into the context of the city, that it looked a bit better with the architecture. So therefore, we had more geometrical patterns. We had more like abstract work. We had more typography and a way more Polish guests than international designers, which we came back to this year. And also, instead of doing big walls, we also had this revelation that everything in the city is designed. So everything is designed, but most of the things are designed thinking of the function, but also things can be designed thinking also about the aesthetical aspect. So, for example, the numbers on the buildings, the fences, even the air vents or the lamps on the street, they can all uh, be functional, but they can also like convey a message. So, for example, the project, the one at the very left, is a project made out of air vents in the city. We created this game for kids because basically many air vents in the city are on the size of kids' sight. So we wanted to make children look at the city in a more playful way and find different like elements and stuff that can be really artistic and interesting. And we also created a project dedicated to fences and gates, because now a lot of people buy their fences in these big stores, big building stores, and because of that, many cities start to look the same because we all like use the same universal spaces and places to buy things that we build with. And here you can see like a sea motive, which is the sailboat at the very top. And of course, we did a lot of things in between. It's mostly about like having playful interactions with the city. For example, the top sign with the dog, it's a new sign for kindergarten number 16. So it was more about giving like aesthetical and designer, but also artistic objects and placing them in the public space. But I'd like to take a deeper dive into one of the projects that we did, because the Polish public space looks in some places like a big mess. A couple of years ago, the parliament passed a bill that made it possible for cities to regulate advertising, but many of them still didn't. There's a lot of like lobbying, a lot of political power struggles. A lot of majors just don't see like how and why it is important. Therefore, many streets are just regulation free, and everybody just tries to uh, get the biggest ad and the boldest type and just uh, compete with each other, which is quite paradoxical because Poland has quite a lot of great examples of nice typography and artistic advertising from like the years back. But many neons have been destroyed, and the ones which were lucky ended up in museums. And then in the 90s came this style later called tipo polo, which is basically everybody had access to plastic foil and they decided to do their own designs, and the whole public space became this like advertising rubbish land. But after the years, many designers find great inspiration in this style. However, we decided to take up this discussion and try to work with the public space and the places and how advertising is made. So this was one of our first redesigns. This is like an old ice cream parlor, and our friend architect Filip Kozarski came to us knowing that we have like a really small budget, which was around 500 euros, and he wanted to like change this place. He knew it from his childhood, but many people just forgot about this place. Also, the kids of the owner didn't want to like follow his shoes, his and their grandfathers. Like it was two generations of ice cream makers, and we decided to like come in, do this redesign, and here Philip was sketching some of the ideas how it might look. Usually, when we do signs, we first scout the location, find the location, sign all the paperwork with the owners, and then we invite a particular designer whose designs would work best for a particular place. Here, the case was different because it was the designer himself who came to us with the idea of changing the store. And as you can see, we did the parallel sign, which is handmade. We refreshed the facade. We did this suspended ice cream sign, which got stolen at some point. But when we posted this online, it went viral within like the local community, and suddenly this shop had so much more customers. People sort of realized that they were or that they heard about this place, and they started going and buying the ice cream. And then also like traditional media started being interested in this topic and presenting them as a success story. And the crazy thing was that the children of the ice cream guy decided to change their careers and decided to like come back to the family business and grow the family business. So after like having this one point, now I think they own two or three points, and which make ice cream in also different cities. And they also have collaborations with restaurants, where restaurants in their menus would put that they have this Fashnek ice cream. So their family has once more become like a brand, because once they were like too close to it to see the value, but once they got all this like attention, social media attention, media attention, then they decided that maybe there's really something interesting there, and that sign just like shifted their life careers and also the life history sort of this family, which for us was really crazy because we thought we were just doing a sign, but we could see that it really has a huge effect like on not only the shop but also the people that work there. Um, so in the following years, we would apply for this bank CSR campaign. It was an online competition, and we volunteered to do like 5 signs within that competition, and we won it. So we did it for local craftsmen. But unfortunately, like a sign doesn't always do all the magic which is required, because at this moment, only one out of these 4 places is still like in business. It's actually 2 out of the 5. One is not included in the picture, and it's because of many many reasons. Sometimes it's just that the people who work there are really old, and when they retire, they don't have somebody who can take on the business. Sometimes they have fierce competition online, or people just like buy new things instead of repairing the old ones. And like many owners just lack marketing skills, so they just close their shops. So on one hand, we had this wonderful first example of this local ice cream shop, which we felt that we could change the world. And then we had sort of a reality check, which told us that a sign sometimes is just a sign, and that it can't always work wonders. But still, the city of Warsaw invited us to do 2 projects for craftsmen in Warsaw, and it was a really nice idea. And also, I don't know how it works here, but basically in Poland, if you do something in a smaller city, you can do really splendid things, but it gets less media attention. And once you do just a little thing in the capital, suddenly it just blows up because like the media is closer to there. And it was also like with this project, although it was harder to get people involved because they didn't know our work. Like in Gdynia, you can see our work on many streets, so it was easier. Here, people were not that convinced, especially that they didn't have to pay because the city was paying for it. So they felt kind of uneasy when a random stranger comes into your store and tells you that we can redesign your storefront, we can redesign your window display, you don't have to pay anything, and they feel like that, that that just doesn't make sense, and that we're some, people that want to trick them in some way. But the ones that got involved were happy, and the project was successful, and we did another edition for even more stores. And it also landed us attention from media companies, from ad agencies, and also honorable mention at the Fast Company website. They have this innovation in design um, competition, and we got this honorable mention, which was kind of crazy because it was also with other companies like Apple and Samsung and McDonald's, like big, really global companies. And we also got a shout out from Stefan Sackmeister, and I'm a design ignorant, so I really didn't know who he is. But my team was really. They were like really hyped, and they had to explain to me. So like in they translated it into like hip hop terms when it comes to like influence or exposure. They told me that it's like the Snoop Dogg of design, and then I myself was also excited for this shout out. And later on we did another edition with Mastercard as a sponsor. So instead of doing little bits and pieces around the country, we decided that it was cities that would sort of compete for which one would get the five store designs, because it only works if it's in a bigger scale in one place. Because if you have like one new thing in different parts of the country, it doesn't make like this snowball effect, which sometimes it can once it's like all in one place. But we sort of always try to like challenge ourselves, and this is a new thing that we did this year. It was not only design but also like the window display. We decided to do it all in our shop. So we did everything out of plywood, and it's basically 3D elements which give this sort of depth. The sign is 40 meters long, and we can see it as a part of the architecture. But this harmonica style is sort of something that correlates to the building. We see it just like as an additional element, and also the seven wooden window displays present like all the objects and things that the store is selling, instead of just like a flat sticker which was there at the beginning. But as I said, we always try to find new things which are interesting for us. And now we've just finished our Biennale, which we do every 2 years in the public space. So this is a new piece of work that we did with the New Raw, where this Dutch company, which does everything from recycled plastic. So this is a sculpture made out of nets, which were recycled from the Baltic Sea, from the waters. They usually do street furniture, but this time we wanted to do like an artistic object with them, which is not a bench, which doesn't have like a function, just instead of being a piece of artwork. These are Olia's sculptures, and they all refer to like animals that she saw when she moved to Gdynia, which she didn't know from Kiev. And they all sort of have this message of personal traits. So, for example, the moth is flying to the light to take a look at her emotional baggage, which she has collected with her. There's this boar, which she wanted to for him to like dig a grave for Russian imperialism. And there's also this last animal, which shows like the need to be flexible, especially once you're leaving your country and fleeing to a neighborhood country to start a new life. And here's just some other things that we do. It's all about like looking for new opportunities and new ways of being playful with the public space. So for example, many of our signs have been featured on scarves, which people then can buy, and part of the profit goes towards more public space interventions. Or a basketball court, which was always like our dream to do. And it was sponsored by the Lace brand, and this design just shows the name of a district where it's based. So we still have quite a lot of fun, and are always looking like for new mediums where we can showcase our work. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Maybe we have some questions straight away. Monica.
Kalbėsiu lietuviškai, gerai?
Okay.
Pirma, noriu padėkoti už super prezentaciją. Viena nuotrauka, kuri, buvo su daug ženklų, tokia reklaminė nuotrauka, kur sakot, kad, kartais Lenkijos, miesto vaizdai taip atrodo, priminė man vieną atvejį. Aš dirbau prieš 15-20 metų reklamos agentūroj ir visąlaik visas iškabas turėjom su Vilniaus savivaldybe derinti. Tai buvo vienintelis prašymas, kad tiktai ne taip kaip Lenkijoj. Tai mūsų tokia buvo istorija, kad mes
Man dar
turi
reikės išversti šitą istoriją, tai žinokit, galbūt eikime prie klausimo, kadangi dar
jo,
turėsiu
jo.
papasakoti, ar ne?
Jo, tai vat, keliaujant, į Lenkiją, dabar matau va tokius superinius pavyzdžius kaip jūsų darbų. Iš tikrųjų įspūdingai atrodo Lenkijos grafikos darbai gatvėse. O kas jum, pavyzdžiui, nu, ateinant naujiems metams būtų didžiausias ir įdomiausias iššūkis, jūsų komandai būtent? Ačiū.
Okay, so shortly, she used to work in advertising, and when she had to deal with the Vilnius municipality, they would say, "Don't do as they do in Poland," like 15 years ago. But now it's much better. Now it's much better. So, what do you find as the biggest challenge nowadays for your team? What are you working on at the moment?
I think at the moment it's about looking for sponsorships to do more work within the public spaces that would not only be uh, municipality financed, because we know because of rising energy prices and everything that's going on, like there will be less public funds, and we also try to educate people in ad companies and like in other commercial districts that. Uh, but it's important to like invest in public spaces, but not in the way that they have been investing for many years. Because as they say that it's terrible, like in Poland, when it comes to advertising, they just used to put like huge billboards, which would cover architecture, which would be also have terrible colors, terrible fonts, and it would just everybody would be competing for the attention by stealing public spaces. Whereas here, when where we, for example, did the basketball court, we were trying to show that that this sort of money can also benefit the local community, that it can enhance certain like places and spaces and maybe have like this small logo type somewhere, but that it's not screaming for your attention, that it's just something that can have this element of brand exposure, but that the thing that they were doing will be something for the benefit of the public space and public community, but it's not going that easy. So there's still a lot of work to do, and we had a talk with a new ad like company, a really nice agency yesterday, I think, and we were also asking them what is their experience with sort of talking to brands and showing them that, for example, we have a piece of art which we would like you to sponsor, and they said that they haven't had a good effect yet. That it's mostly about these companies coming to you with a brief and wanting you to sort of give them some inputs for the ideas that they have instead of you going out with an idea and finding financing to do such a project. So this is, I think, something which we are working on now at the moment.
But most of the financing comes from municipalities or from projects that you say.
Most of the funding comes from municipalities, and we have just a little bit of commercial projects which sort of co-fund, or we have just particular companies which also want signs, and then it's just big companies or small companies. It's just like a mixture.
Okay. Ah, maybe I asked the question if it's the same because I was wondering. You have a quite an interesting and unique business approach. Instead of going to businesses themselves and say, "Hey, you need a rebranding, you need a new design," you go to municipalities and say, "Hey, this area doesn't have the best design. Let us do it." Right? Is this the way it works? Because at what point the community is involved?
Well, it all depends because with this project, the redesign project, what I wanted to show is the different options of being financed. The first edition, which we did with like this ice cream shop, it was a city grant. It was the birthday of this design center, and they wanted to just sponsor something which would be sort of permanent in the city. Then another edition was this bank's CSR campaign competition online, which we had to win, but it was like commercial money. Then when Warsaw came to us, it was also, the money of the city of Warsaw, which they had for this revitalization project of a particular district. And then when it was MasterCard, it was an ad agency coming to us wanting to do this MasterCard sponsorship program. So basically, it's
All kinds.
yeah, it's all
Okay,
kinds of financing.
great. Do we have any more questions, Monica? Yep.
Hi, thank you, Monica. I'm originally from Poland, now living abroad, but thank you for all your work because I remember the visual chaos in Poland was always my big eyesore, and I'm wondering now I deal with design policy, and I wonder if you think there is something more we can do on a policy level to deal with that visual chaos, or is it just through the education of the society that we learn to appreciate the um, harmony in public visuals? So, do you have an opinion on that?
Great question.
All depends on the city. For example, both Warsaw and Gdynia did quite a lot of research and educational projects trying to make the best bill possible to regulate advertising. But still, in Warsaw, it became a problem of power struggles between like two different parties because one rules the city and another rules like the bigger district, województwo. So they're clashing between each other, and the sort of that the city of Warsaw is now in court in order to pass this bill. So it makes it even longer for until it will actually work. But we have worked with cities on trying to pass the bill. We have also consulted them. In Gdynia, we did like this publication, which the city plastician's office has for people. It's also available online, which shows what types of signs you can make, how to place them within like an architectural context, and just trying to like educate. So it we do our work, we like to show the before and after because it reaches a big amount of people, especially online, so then they can see that there's a difference. Because like when we walk the streets, we are used to how they look really really often, and once somebody takes a picture of how the streets look and you see it on the picture, you just can't believe how ugly it is. So once you place it next to something that has been changed and people can see the difference, that's the moment when they start to realize that, okay, so this could look different and that it affects of how we feel walking on the street. So it's like, yeah, it's education, but it's also trying to help like policymakers do their work, which gets torpedoed in many ways.
Help them see the change, right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any more questions for Monica? Yes, we have one. Just a, yeah, we still need a microphone because we can't even hear. Yeah.
Can you show the slide with ice cream again? Please.
I would try it. I
Very
think
beautiful.
there's something new on this. I don't think.
We already have the next slides ready. So maybe we can do it after because we already have the next two
Yeah,
slides ready,
sorry.
right?
Oh, okay. I will try.
Can you find it?
Yep.
There were some really
Yeah, it's
good
here.
looking details here. Yeah. So
The next one. This
Okay.
one.
Yeah, someone is stealing some inspiration here. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's finish with this. So a round of applause for Monica for helping us to get to know the Polish design.